Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Rest for weary souls. What does that feel like? Well, a story. It was the summer of 2016. Rowan was 1, about to turn 2, and he and I were getting ready to fly up to New Hampshire to join Matt. Matt was doing his clinical pastoral education program in Concord, New Hampshire. Clinical pastoral education, it's a mouthful, perhaps why it is lovingly and unlovingly known as CPE. This is the summer-long internship for seminarians and others exploring calls to pastoral vocations. Vocations where you need to be deeply aware of yourself so that you can be deeply present to others. Matt sought out this program in New Hampshire because it was listed as housing provided. And it's an intense program, and it was our intention to stagger our CPE summers so that we could be present with one another, one of us being the full-time parent while the other engaged in CPE. So we only found out after his acceptance that meant housing for the intern only, not for the family. But that's a story for another time. For now, back to Rowan and me getting ready to fly up. Because of the quandary with housing, Rowan and I spent the first 2 weeks of the summer with my parents in South Carolina. Those weeks passed, and my dad took me and Rowan to the Atlanta airport. I was feeling reasonably confident about what our travel experience would be, and about how Rowan would experience his first flight. I knew the Atlanta airport. I'd flown in and out of it many times, concourse A, B, C, D. I'd done the train. I knew how it worked. So I told my dad that I really was comfortable for him to drop us at departures. It would save him the headache of having to park. I had this. So we pulled up, found our airline. Dad helped me to hold Rowan as I moved our baggage over to be checked. I packed up Rowan's car seat and its travel bag, threw it over my shoulders. It was one of those backpack ones. Grabbed my second bag that served all of the purposes, purse, diaper bag, any other duties as deemed necessary. I made sure my ID, Rowan's birth certificate, and our boarding passes were easily accessible. We gave my dad hugs at the car, and then in we went. Now, this is where I should share that because Matt drove to New Hampshire at the beginning of the summer, we packed the car to the hilt. We packed Rowan's full crib, some favorite toys, and yes, we also packed and sent the stroller. That was a mistake. So with all of that in mind, I walk into the Atlanta airport with car seat strapped to my back, second bag in one arm and holding Rowan in the other. I got this. I've got it. Through security, all is well. Car seat bag comes out of the scanner. Second bag comes out of the scanner. Rowan does great. He's happy to hold my hand and go through all the things we need to. I get my shoes back on. I suit back up, car seat back, second bag, Rowan. Off we go. Now, I cannot tell you today which concourse we flew out of. But what I can tell you is that very shortly after leaving security, I learned that the train was not running that day. There was some mechanical issue and the train was just not running. Not delayed, not it'll be back online soon, just not running. So I don't remember which concourse we flew out of, but remembering that walk, I'm fairly confident it was not A. And again, walking with car seat bag, second bag, 1-year-old, I'm pretty sure it wasn't B. It was also summer in Atlanta, and even though we were inside, we know this, we've been living it these past few weeks, even though we were inside, the heat and humidity were inside too. And not planning for the full walk through the Atlanta airport, I was also pushed for time, and so trying my best to speed walk. All to say, I was a puddle when I arrived at the terminal, in every sense of the word, a literal puddle. Remember the heat and humidity, and also an emotional and mental puddle. The flight was on its final boarding call, there with the plan for one more diaper change. I showed the boarding passes, I walked down the jetway, I gate checked the car seat, I walked onto the plane, I found our seats, I sat down, and immediately I dissolved. So many tears. Overwhelm hit hard. I was hot and uncomfortable. Rowan was hot and uncomfortable, and we were sharing a seat. And he saw my tears, and he didn't express it like this at the time, but his reaction to my tears was something like, "Mom, your vibe is completely ruining my first airplane trip." So we were a real treat. We had the window seat in the row. That was important to me, and that had worked. We had the window seat, and I guess that we had walked past the people to get to it. I hadn't really paid attention. But all of a sudden, here was this hand with this bottle of water. It was this woman sitting beside me, and she handed me the bottle of water, and as she did, I realized that she had also reached up and turned the air on above us. She began to talk to Rowan and ask him questions. She took the water bottle back from me, opened it, handed it back. "Take a sip," she said. "Take a deep breath. You made it. You're doing great." She then asked me about a sippy cup for Rowan. Did I have one? And could she ask for some milk or water to fill it? This woman's voice and her presence was like a cool breeze. She was so kind, so good. She was gentle. She was comforting. She saw me, and she let me know that I was seen. I breathed more deeply in her presence, and because I did, Rowan did too. She drew us both into ease. I don't remember her name, nor do I remember where she was going that day. Was it a business trip? Was she coming home from vacation? I don't remember. And I honestly don't know if I even asked her those questions. I didn't have the capacity. Me, who just a few short hours before felt like this solo trip with my 1-year-old was going to be so effortless. I didn't have the capacity, and she didn't expect me to. I do know that she was not traveling that day to Concord, New Hampshire. But even so, when we landed in Baltimore, she walked with me and Rowan to the terminal of our connecting flight. She held Rowan's hand. She did the work of navigating the airport, leading us in the direction we needed to go. She allowed me to run to the bathroom without car seat bag, second bag, and 1-year-old. And then she stayed with us until we boarded. And even as we walked on, made sure that I had my water and Rowan had his sippy cup. Take a deep breath. You made it. You're doing great. A glimpse of God's kingdom in the journey from Atlanta to Baltimore. Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Rest, gentleness, humility, goodness, kindness, relief, comfort. These are the signs of God's reign. Jesus speaks these words of soul rest today to a people who are burdened by oppressive systems and also burdened by their own expectations. The opening of today's gospel speaks of the people's murmuring, their chattering against both John the Baptist and Jesus. The Baptist comes with his wild practices of desert and ascetic living, and the people do not want to hear his words of repent and prepare. And then, just as John said he would, Jesus comes. And Jesus comes eating and drinking with none of those desert or ascetic practices, or not in the same way as John. But Jesus comes eating and drinking with all the wrong people, with those folks over there, the sinners and the tax collectors. The people don't want John, and they don't want the one for whom John is preparing. And so they complain about both of them. They just sit and they talk constantly of the what ifs and the if onlys. Wisdom is moving and shaking all around them, and they dance right on her head. They don't want to listen to her. The noise of their complaints and their doubts and their dashed expectations is too loud for wisdom's still, small voice. And yet, as holy wisdom has always done, she keeps showing up to a people who are weary, to a people who are tired, bone tired, brain tired, and oh so soul tired. Holy wisdom keeps showing up in the midst of pain and complaint and competing voices. She breathes new air and offers cool, clear water. Take a sip. Take a deep breath. You're doing great. May we be ready to receive her. And may we be ready to share her. Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest.